some spark as the Expos come to town. TSN presents the Expos' first visit of the season to Shea Stadium. It's the New York Mets and the Montreal Expos in a National League East showdown. Brought to you by Labatt's Blue, the clean, true taste of Canada. And by Esso retailers and agents going that extra mile. Hello again, everyone. This is Jim Houston with Ken Singleton at Shea Stadium in New York. The Expos start the week behind Chicago, just in front of New York. The Cardinals are also in this National League East race that's become a four-team affair. The last week against the Cardinals and the Cubs for the Expos might have been one of lost opportunities. They won only 2 of 6.
Well, a hit here or there, the Expos might be coming into New York in first place, but that's not the case. They're really going to have to turn it around, get it going here against the Mets. We're still in that stretch against Eastern Division foes, and you really have to put it together, play some good, decent ball, really concentrate, and maybe you can pull out in front.
Now, the Cubs are first, but a lot of people don't take that seriously. People still think the Mets are the team to beat. How about you?
Well, I picked the Mets at the beginning of the year, but their pitching staff has not been as awesome and dominating as it has been in the past. Their offense has struggled. They really haven't been scoring that many runs as opposed to years in the past. That's why they went out and got Juan Samuel.
Well, some of their pitchers have struggled, but the guy that's pitching tonight hasn't struggled very much at all, has he?
Well, Doc Gooden's been pitching very well, and the fact is that he's really going to be a tough number to beat tonight.
He's looking for his 100th career victory. He's up against Kevin Gross, the Expos and the Mets on TSN. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN.
Welcome back to Shea Stadium in Flushing, New York, and with me is the manager of the New York Mets, Davey Johnson. Of course, David, the Phillies and the Mets pulled off a big deal yesterday. Juan Samuel coming to the Mets in exchange for Roger McDowell and Lenny Dykstra. What was the reasoning from the Mets end on this deal?
Well, Kenny, we've been looking for a right-handed bat for a long time to play either in the infield or in the outfield, and you know, you don't think a player of his magnitude is going to be available. He's an impact player as far as I'm concerned. He's had some great years. He can play second. He's an all-star second baseman, and he's adjusting to the outfield, and he just makes things happen. And we gave up a couple of pretty good players, but we think we got a real good one in return.
Okay, you put Samuel into center field, and that's the position he's just learning. Are you thinking about moving him later on in the season?
Well, I'm going to see how he does out there. It gives me some flexibility. I gave up an outfielder, and I can move him into second base and go with really an offensive lineup, or I can leave him out there and have you know, Kevin Elster in the lineup for more defense. So I just want to see how he plays center field. I've talked to him a little bit about it. I want his bat in there wherever I put him, and that's all he cares about, too.
Any concerns about giving up a McDowell who had been successful for you in the past? Maybe he'd struggle a bit this season.
Well, he'd struggled the last couple years, and when his sinker's sinking, he's fine. He's a tremendous competitor. He's done a lot for the organization and for my success, and it's tough to trade those kind of guys. Rick Aguilar this year came along healthy and was been so dominant. Now he's in a closing role, and Roger was more in a long relief role. Made it Roger expendable.
Juan Samuel is wearing number 7, starting in center field and leading off in the batting order for the New York Mets. He's crossed over from Philly and is up against the Expos when we come back to the Big Apple.
Let's start. Well, the reason why he's been so successful in such a short period of time, a great fastball over 90 miles per hour. And to go with that, he has a crackling curve, very sharp right over the top. A changeup that he uses occasionally, but he combines a good fastball, curveball, and pretty good location on both pitches. And he combines that into victories over such a short period of time.
In fact, he's not quite 25 yet, and still going after number 100 against the Expos tonight. Montreal has lost 2 of its last 3 to Chicago and is a game and a half back starting the night of the Cubs. 4 above 500 for Buck Rogers' team, hitting .217 for the last week, .244 as a team, 5th in the National League. No 300 hitters amongst the regulars. Raines has the top average at .281. Galarraga tops in home runs with 9, RBIs with 41. Raines and Wallach are also 30 RBI men. Hubie Brooks is close with 29.
Defensively for the New York Mets, Dave Magadan in for the injured Keith Hernandez at first base. Greg Jeffries, rookie at second. Kevin Elster at short. Howard Johnson over those throwing problems, now in at third base. Kevin McReynolds in left. Newly acquired Juan Samuel in center field. Darryl Strawberry in a slump of late in right. Barry Lyons for an injured Gary Carter behind the plate, and Doc Gooden on the mound.
Yes, it's the Mets without Gary Carter, Keith Hernandez, and Tim Tuffle, and it's a typical summer day in New York. It's hazy and sticky. Maybe a chance of a thunder shower, although it looked like there could be a few hours ago a thunderstorm, but it doesn't look quite that bad now. You may hear the noise of a few aircraft going over. We seem to be on the landing or takeoff path from LaGuardia Airport today. And although the Mets play here quite often, the Expos haven't been here in quite some time and may find it a tad distracting at the plate in particular. Dave Martinez to lead things off against Doc Gooden. And there's Juan Samuel in his first game in center field with the New York Mets. The Expos made their deal to keep in this National League East Division race with hopes of winning it, picking up Mark Langston, picking up the player the Mets wanted. Now the Mets have countered with a deal they hope will spark them and keep them in the race.
The man on the mound has had them in the race in years gone by. Doc Gooden. Notice the fastball's on the inside, more or less a cut fastball. That was the curve.
Strikeout number 1, the first man he faced. Gooden wasting no time.
After two very good fastballs, that overhand curve that they call Lord Charles when it comes to Doc Gooden. One of the best curveballs in the league. In fact, we have two of the best curveball pitchers in the league. Kevin Gross has a good breaker too.
So Gross will follow Gooden to the mound, and Gooden will face Tom Foley. Foul ball from Foley. The Expos have done pretty well against Gooden. I mean, his lifetime record against Montreal is very good at 8-4. But there's an awful lot of teams that haven't hit very well against Doc Gooden, and the Expos big bats have. Tim Raines has had trouble with him, but Galarraga has hit .333 against him. Hubie Brooks .364. Tim Wallach .256.
Just missed, blowing away with the fastball. You know, sometimes when you face the top pitchers in the game, a hitter can really get psyched up for it and really concentrate, because you know you're in for a tough night if you don't concentrate and live up to the challenge. Good curveball.
1-2. Foley's in trouble, and he knows Doc Gooden's packed some of his best stuff to the mound tonight.
You have to remember, Gooden is coming off a ball game where he left because of a tight shoulder. Now, there was a rain delay in that ball game. Maybe the Mets just protected against bringing Gooden back.
Foley hits the ball into the right field corner. Foul. Extra bases if he'd been able to just straighten that out a bit. Ball and 2 strikes.
You know, when you pull one foul against a pitcher like Gooden, you figure that was your best shot during that at bat. He's not going to make another mistake. The league is just hitting .206 against Doc Gooden.
Here's the 1-2 from Gooden to Foley. Missed outside. Evens it up at 2-2.
And the crowd here at Shea Stadium, every time a hitter gets 2 strikes, and with a Gooden on the mound, they really start clapping. They're looking for that strikeout. Here's the 2-2.
Foul, and the count remains even at 2-2. Gooden's last outing then was just 6 innings, and the outing before that was just 5 innings. In fact, this year he doesn't have a complete game. But he's 8-2, so that's just fine with the Mets. Second baseman Tom Foley. The 2-2 pitch from Gooden fouled away, and Foley stays alive in a good at-bat. The Expos lost 2 of 3 to the Cubs after losing 2 of 3 to the Cardinals. They face the Mets, then they go into Chicago. So needless to say, this is a very important week for them. Foley straightens one out, but it's a fly ball into left field, and Kevin McReynolds makes the catch just as the 743 to Albuquerque goes over.
Now, you mentioned the airplanes flying over Shea Stadium. It's tough to concentrate when you're hitting. I imagine it bothers the pitchers and fielders as well. I remember long ago when I used to play here, the propeller jobs that flew over.
Not quite as noisy.
Yeah, well, you still had to step out.
There's Orville and Wilbur flying by.
Yeah.
Andres Galarraga. As I mentioned, he's hitting .333 lifetime against Gooden. But in this ballpark last year, he didn't have a very good set of series. 133 was his average in Shea Stadium last season. Gooden's behind 2-0.
One thing Galarraga has done lately, he's been more patient at the plate, hasn't been swinging as many pitches out of the strike zone.
Hits a long fly ball to center field. Samuel is back, and he'll watch it go. A home run for Andres Galarraga. Expos lead 1-0. The 10th home run of the season for the big cat, Andres Galarraga, and the Expos are on the board.
Well, this is a no-doubter as far as Galarraga is concerned. Good extension on the swing, and those big hitters will let you know when they've got one. Just watch the hitter and his reaction. Gala knows he's in for the slow trot around the bases.
He had a great weekend, going 5 for 12 against Chicago, even though the Expos lost 2 of the games, and is now hit in 5 straight games. And Davey Johnson's team that struggled on offense is behind 1-0 early. Tim Raines hits a fly ball to left, and Kevin McReynolds didn't have to move very far to make the catch. The Expos are on the board against Doc Gooden, and Kevin Gross will now go to work on the Mets. A 2-out solo home run for Andres Galarraga, and the Montreal Expos lead the New York Mets 1-0 at Shea Stadium. This is Labatt Expos baseball on TSN. Glad to see the last of the Cardinals, at least for a little while. Kevin Gross, a 28-year-old from Chino, California, is back out of the mound for the Montreal Expos facing the New York Mets.
Gross made his shortest appearance of the year against the Cardinals, 2 2/3 innings in a loss that the Expos took. But against the Mets, he's done pretty well lifetime. 11-8. He's 1-0 this year. He beat the Mets earlier this season up in Montreal. And as I said before, Gooden has a good curveball. So does Kevin Gross. Not quite a downer, but very sharp. More like a slurve you'll see out of Gross.
Here's the lineup that Kevin Gross will face. The New York Mets under Davey Johnson are 3 above 500. Start the night 2 back of the Cubs. Hitting just .238, though. That's 10th out of 12 teams in the NL. The high average belongs to Dave Magadan at .306. Howard Johnson is tops in RBIs with 38 and home runs with 16. Darryl Strawberry only leads in strikeouts for now. And newcomer Juan Samuel is in the leadoff spot wearing number 7. And he's playing in center field.
Defensively for Montreal, Andres Galarraga at first, Tom Foley at second, Spike Owen at short, Tim Wallach around at third, Raines, Martinez, and Brooks in the outfield. Nelson Sanavenia does the catching, and Kevin Gross will be pitching to the newest of the New York Mets.
And a former teammate. Last season, Kevin Gross and Juan Samuel were together in Philadelphia. John McSherry is behind home plate tonight. Jerry Crawford's working at first base. Charlie Williams at second. Mark Hirschbeck is the umpire at third as Juan Samuel steps in as a New York Met.
The Mets acquired Samuel on a hot streak. You see his average at .246. It has been rising.
.373 in his last 14 games with Philadelphia, and those included some games against the Expos, where Samuel had a very good series against Montreal down in Philly.
He was very pleased with the trade. Said he was more than happy to move up 9.5 games in the National League East Division standings to a team in third from a team that's almost already out of it.
Well, he lost one slot on his number, too. Wore number 8 in Philadelphia, now number 7 with the Mets.
Now, this is an interesting spot for him to be used in. He's a free swinger, doesn't walk a lot. He either hits the ball or strikes out. He can hit some home runs, but Davey Johnson wants him as a leadoff man for now.
He wants some speed at the top of the lineup and some punch, and you get both of those with Juan Samuel.
Here's the 2-1 from Kevin Gross. There's some punch. Fly ball into left field. It's back. It's caught on the track. Well, it would have been a storybook beginning, but Juan Samuel just couldn't get enough on it, and he gets a partial standing ovation as he heads to the dugout.
First baseman Dave Magadan.
There was a mixed reaction, didn't you find, when Juan Samuel was introduced before the game, when the batting order was announced?
Well, the 2 players he was traded for were very popular here in New York. Lenny Dykstra, Nails, and Roger McDowell kind of slipped this year in the bullpen for the Mets. And, you know, when you want something, you got to give up something. Ask the Expos when they traded for Mark Langston.
Some McDowell and Dykstra fans. In this city, in the course of a good evening at the plate, Juan Samuel can turn everyone in his favor. And he could be run out of town the next. It's New York. Shea Stadium. It's like playing baseball on a runway. Rock concert going on and thousands of screaming people. It's the wildest place you'll ever see a baseball game. One away, the 1-1 pitch to Dave Magadan.
Maybe one of the 2 wildest. They have a place up in the Bronx not too far away from here, Yankee Stadium, that
yeah, maybe I should have said the wildest city in which you'll ever see a ball game.
well, I think that Yankee Stadium sometimes can make Shea Stadium look like a Sunday school picnic.
2-1 to Magadan.
Magadan's done a very good job while filling in for the injured Keith Hernandez. He's hit 19 of his last 21 ball games to really, you know, soften the blow of losing the, you know, former All-Star and MVP. You know, one thing the Mets are going to miss with Hernandez and Gary Carter out of the lineup is that veteran leadership that they provide.
Gross lost Magadan. First base on balls, surrender.
Kevin thought that pitch was a strike, and he's talking it over with home plate umpire John McSherry. Now you got to remember, Big John McSherry's coming back to his hometown. He now lives in California, but McSherry, well, he's not hearing too much from Buck Rogers at this moment.
Not hearing much of anything in this ballpark tonight, and maybe that's a good thing that the conversation was broken up by the jetliner. So there's a runner on. The Expos lead 1-0, bottom of the first inning, and here's Howard Johnson. 28-year-old who's been playing some shortstop, now at third base. Switch hitter. Howard does everything in excess, it seems. He strikes out a lot. He walks a lot. He steals a lot. He hits home runs a lot. He makes a lot of errors. Everything in excess for Howard Johnson.
Well, since he's been moved up to the top part of the lineup, he's really come on for the Mets. He's been batting down in that 5th and 6th position, and manager Davey Johnson moved him into 2nd. That really got him hot. Now he's dropped into the 3rd slot.
Breaking ball in the 0-1 pitch is a ball and a strike.
The danger zone with Howard Johnson is the high fastball. He can turn it around as well as anybody. You'll see him throwing a lot of breaking balls.
12 of his 16 home runs this season have come off right-handed pitchers. Magadan has his lead. 1-1 pitch hit hard by Howard Johnson. This is back, way back, and gone. Home run, Howard Johnson. That's 13 of his 17 home runs have come off right-handed pitching.
Well, the Mets have a home run-oriented offense. They're second in the league, only trailing the San Francisco Giants. This is number 61 for the Mets, number 17 for Howard on a hanging curveball. By the way, the Giants have 63 homers.
That doesn't get any easier for Kevin Gross with Darryl Strawberry at the plate. Although his average at .227 is not great, he has hit 15 home runs. Now he's 2 back of Howard Johnson.
Jim, I was talking to Darryl in the locker room before the game. He's really been struggling. Just 5 for his last 33, and he said the pitches he should be hitting this particular time, he's fouling off or missing altogether. He says that he can feel a hot streak. It might be coming pretty soon.
Fouls a pitch off, a ball and 2 strikes. So the Mets take a 2-1 lead. Howard Johnson counters Andres Galarraga's 10th home run with his 17th, a 2-run shot. Buck Rogers, Larry Bernard know that this will be a tough series. They've played the Mets 3 times, but they haven't played them since the first weekend of the season in Montreal, and the Expos won 2 of 3. This is their first visit to Shea Stadium. Kevin Gross was a winner against the Mets on April the 7th, his first start as an Expo. He was a winner 7-3 over Strawberry and the Mets. Here's the 1-2 into the dirt, bounced it up and hit him. Now, why would he get uptight about being hit by that pitch?
And you can see the reaction of Kevin Gross. If I wanted to hit you, he pointed to his ribs. I would have drilled you right in the ribs.
He bounced it up and hit him in the ankle.
Maybe this goes to show the importance of this series between these 2 ball clubs. When you want to hit somebody, you don't hit them in the foot. There's no doubt in my mind about that. It's just a wild pitch from Kevin Gross.
Man aboard, 1 away, 2-1 Mets, and here's Kevin McReynolds.
Gross bounces another pitch. Maybe Darryl just doesn't like Kevin Gross's theory of dance fever.
Santavania wants to speak with his pitcher, just settle him down a little bit as Strawberry looks on from first. Gross has walked a man, given up a 2-run home run, and now hit a man after getting Juan Samuel to fly out, and that was a long fly ball to the track. So this hasn't been a very good start for Kevin Gross. Down 2-1 with 1 away, and the count 1-0 on Kevin McReynolds as Strawberry takes his lead. Strawberry has stolen 9. He's been caught twice. Low and away, ball 2, 2-0.
Well, it's obvious that Gross is struggling with his control. The last 2 breaking balls nowhere near the plate. In fact, the last 3, including the one that hit Strawberry. It's going to take him a few pitches to get settled in, and it can be very dangerous when you fall behind big hitters like Strawberry, McReynolds, and Howard Johnson. You saw what happened to Gooden when he fell behind Galarraga. Very same thing with Howard Johnson.
Three and 0. Taking all the way is strike 3 and 1. 20 pitches already for Kevin Gross, who gets his pitch total up early. He's trailing 2-1, only has 1 out, and can't afford to fall too far behind with Doc Gooden pitching for the other team.
Strawberry might be on the move. He has 9 stolen bases this year.
The Expos have thrown out only 20% of those trying to steal. Nelson Santavena is 9 for 29. Strawberry's on the way. The throw from Santavena. Safe at second base.
Has a pretty good throw from Santavena. Might have been a touch in the dirt, but that's the kind that a second baseman or a shortstop should be able to handle. And if Tom Foley comes up with this ball, Strawberry would have been out. It appeared that Foley just tried to make the tag before he actually caught the ball.
But the throw was there in time.
It was not in the dirt, as I previously thought.
Counts full with Strawberry at second base, and the Mets leading 2-1, just 1 out. Jeffries on deck. Ball 4. First and second, 1 away. Second walk issued by Kevin Gross, and Larry Bernard, the pitching coach, is going to come out and talk to him. 2 walks, a hit batsman, a 2-run home run, and Kevin Gross is in a heap of trouble.
It appears that Kevin says, I can't understand this, why the ball won't go where I want it to.
Larry Bernard, the pitching coach, a former New York Met. Larry holds the dubious honor of having uncorked the first ever wild pitch at Shea Stadium.
May 6th, 1964. I believe it was against the Cincinnati Reds, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
I wasn't here, but I thought I heard that somewhere.
But the Mets were 53 and 109 that season, so I imagine there were a few other wild pitches, amongst other things, that didn't go right for the New York Mets. Darryl Strawberry was hit. Stole second, his 10th steal of the season. Kevin McReynolds is walked. 2 on for Greg Jeffries. Jeffries is just 21 years old. He's really started to pick it up. In his last 11 games, his average is .372, so that average is climbing. Davey Johnson must be given credit if he continues to pick up the pace this season for sticking with him. Another manager may have sent him back down to AAA after a miserable start, having a tough time learning second base, hasn't turned the double play very well, learning a new position and having a tough time with the bat. 3-0. Kevin Gross just can't throw a strike.
Speaking of tough time, Gross, no control with the fastball. He throws the 2 first fastballs outside, comes back with a 2-0 breaker, and that misses.
Now if he has to take something off to throw a strike, look out. Ball 4, walk number 3. The bases are loaded.
The catcher, number 33, Barry Lyons.
You know, sometimes for a pitcher, when he's in a control streak where he just can't get the ball over, his delivery is out of sync or his mechanics are kind of fouled up. Kevin Gross, it doesn't seem to be any different than the normal way that he throws, maybe a little bit more across the body. But he's really pitched himself into a jam here in the first inning.
The potential is here for a huge inning for the New York Mets. Bases loaded, one away, and the catcher Barry Lyons is at the plate. Ball one.
I remember Gross led the league in base on balls last year.
Leads the staff with 32 this year. Strike 1 and 1.
But it's one thing to spread them out, not use them all in one inning.
Two outings ago, he had a superb game and lost against the Cardinals. At one point, retired 24 in a row. Here's the 1-1, fouled away, prompting Whitey Herzog to say that's one of the best pitched losses I've ever seen. In his last outing, you mentioned he left in the third and was shelled. The Expos lost 10-0 in St. Louis. He's lost 2 in a row, trying to get it going and having a tough time, obviously, against the New York Mets. Ball and 2 strikes, 1 away, bases loaded. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Foul. Kevin's thrown 30 pitches, 18 of them for balls.
Got a pretty good Monday night crowd here at Shea Stadium, and they're all alive, looking for something to happen against Buck Rogers and his Expos. It gets Larry Benarth and Buck are looking for that ground ball to short right now.
Strawberry, McReynolds, and Jeffries are the base runners. Lyons at the plate. The count's 1 and 2. Lyons and Mackey Sasser share catching duties with Gary Carter on the disabled list. Carter has a bad right knee, but he's off crutches and hit today for the first time. Fouled away again. So Carter is getting closer to coming back. Keith Hernandez is on the 21-day disabled list. The broken right kneecap and still a ways away. Tim Tuffle still out with a right ankle injury. He's on the 15-day disabled list, and he only went on the 6th of June.
I talked to Gary Carter before the game. He said he won't be back until around the All-Star break. There's Keith Hernandez in the jacket. Gary says he's going to get it right this time. He's not going to rush back into the lineup.
Did Kevin Gross ever need that? He struck out Barry Lyons for his first strikeout of the game and the second out. So the fly ball to score a run is out of the Mets arsenal in this inning.
You notice Nelson Santavena's target is towards the middle of the plate, but Kevin Gross hits the outside corner. Now, I believe Santavena is setting up in the middle of the plate just to give Kevin Gross a better target. So he doesn't go so much for the corners and gets the plate with a pitch. Maybe if he had set up on the corner, that pitch would have been outside for a ball. So you set up in the middle of the plate when a pitcher is struggling with his control so you can get some strikes.
Kevin Elster swinging at the first pitch. It's a high fly ball to right. Hubie Brooks caught it, and Kevin Gross has dodged a bullet the size of a cannonball. The Mets loaded the bases with 1 away. He walked 3, gave up just 1 hit, a 2-run home run to Howard Johnson, and the Expos are out of the first, down 2-1 to the New York Mets, and it could have been a whole lot worse. This is Labatt, Expos Baseball on TSN. Back out on the mound for the New York Mets. As I mentioned, in his last outing, he pitched just 6. The previous outing, just 5 innings. He's had some stiffness in his right shoulder, but his pitching coach isn't concerned.
Well, I'll watch Doc real closely tonight, but I'm really not concerned. He's had a little bit of tenderness the last 3 starts, and he's gone ahead and pitched with it. I really haven't noticed any difference in his delivery or anything else. It's really not a cause of concern. There's no pain or anything involved. It's just he's not simply as loose as he would like to be, and so therefore I think everyone's made a big issue out of it.
Just a tiny bit of tenderness for a pitcher the caliber of Doc Gooden is enough for people to make an issue of an injury. And in New York, this is the man the Mets and their fans hang their hat on. And Hubie Brooks has hung him out to dry a few times. Hubie Brooks has a great average, 364 against Doc Gooden. Hubie steps away, and an 0-2 count, watches the plane go by.
Here we come, Saskatoon.
The 8-10 to Saskatoon. And Hubie Brooks continues to have the hot bat against Dwight Gooden. Extra bases into the corner. Strawberry has trouble with it, but Brooks will hold up at second base. It's a double for Hubie Brooks to lead things off for the Expos in the second inning.
Well, the Expos now have 44 doubles. This is going into an 18-game stretch now. Hubie gets an 0-2 pitch. Remember, up out of the strike zone. Hubie turns on it, sends it down into the corner. Strawberry with a few problems, a little dirt on the uniform, but still a double. That would have been a double anyway for Hubie. Manager Davey Johnson on your right. Was Mel Stoudemire, pitching coach, just to his right. Buddy Harrelson and third base coach Sam Perlazzo.
And third baseman Tim Wallach is the batter for the Montreal Expos against Dwight Gooden. 256 lifetime average against the good doctor.
I was talking to Wallach before the game. He took infield practice. He said this infield is in bad shape. And I asked him what he meant. He says it's almost like West Palm Beach.
Uh-oh.
Soft on top and very hard on the bottom, which leads to inconsistent bounces for infielders.
The weather hasn't been great in this area in the last couple of weeks. There's been lots of rain. The Expos are 6-6, 500 on grass after losing their first 4, but it's been 2.5 weeks, 16 games since they played on a natural surface. Change of speeds could be trouble. No, Strawberry gets in time to make the catch. Looked like one of those as it started out that might just drop in between 3 players trying to converge on it. Nothing doing though for Tim Wallach, and 1 away as Hubie Brooks stands on second.
The catcher.
Yeah, we are at the time of night when the dusk is settling here in New York, and the lights haven't taken full effect, and this is prime time for an outfielder to lose a ball in the lights, or not in the lights, just can't see the ball. The lights haven't taken effect.
Nelson Santavania is the catcher at the plate.
You hear the plane roaring overhead. I can recall when I was a rookie here at Shea Stadium, and Ernie Banks walked onto the field and a plane flew overhead, and Ernie said, "You better reroute those planes. I'm going to knock one out of the sky." And then he said, "Let's play 2."
0-1 to Nelson Santavania. Mets 2, Expos 1, but the Expos threatening in the second against Dwight Gooden. Some snap on that pitch, 0-2.
Santavania's going to have to turn it up a notch. Now remember, Hubie Brooks got a hit on 0-2, and pitchers remember that's a red flag. No hitter is supposed to get a base hit on an 0-2 count. Pitchers are taught that way back, and I guess you go back to Little League. You're not going to get a base hit on that one.
Way outside, a ball and 2 strikes. Gooden was 2-1 last year against Montreal. 1-0 this year. He beat Montreal 2-1 on the 9th of April in a good battle with Dennis Martinez, a 3-hitter over 8 innings for Doc Gooden. Only run he gave up was a home run to Hubie Brooks. Santavania lost the bat and the battle. Strikeout number 2 for Gooden.
Breaking ball for the strikeout. You know, Gooden picks up strikeouts on either that fastball or that sharp breaking curve. You know, you think Hubie, when Hubie was traded to Montreal from the Mets, his first thought was, darn, now I have to face Doc. He's doing pretty well against him.
Switch hitting shortstop Spike Owen. Counts 1-0. Line drive to left. Kevin McReynolds makes the catch, and the Expos are gone in the second, squandering a leadoff double by Hubie Brooks. Wallach, Santavania, and Owen all made outs, and Doc Gooden is finished with the Expos in the second inning. No runs on a hit, a man left at second base. And the New York Mets, with Doc Gooden pitching, lead Kevin Gross and the Expos 2-1 in the middle of the second. This is Labatt Expos baseball on TSN. Here's Juan Samuel. The Expos have made their deal in the East. The Mets gave up two pretty good players for Juan Samuel. Davey Johnson likes the deal. How about Buck Rogers of the Expos?
Well, I think it's going to remain to be seen, Jim. Dykstra's a guy, a very pesky guy, the star of the batting order, and along with Bachman a couple years ago, were probably the best 1-2 hitters in baseball. He's going to knock down their on-base percentage, but Samuel gives them more power and maybe a touch more speed. So McDowell wasn't doing a job in the bullpen. He's 28 years old, and there's no doubt that he's going to come back and do a much better job than he did here in New York. But I think time will tell who got the best deal of the trade.
A non-committal manager of the Montreal Expos on the deal that brought Juan Samuel to New York. Dwight Gooden at 182 has 6 hits and 33 trips to the plate. Not bad with the bat.
A couple of doubles included in those 6 hits.
Ground ball knocked down by Tim Wallach, and Gooden is thrown out. 1 away. Now that's what Kevin Gross wants. Just make them put the ball in play and let the Gold Glover handle it.
You say a ground ball knocked down by Tim Wallach. Look like a ground ball knocked down Tim Wallach.
Yeah.
Here's another look. Hard smash, yeah. Wallach to his knees, but he stays with it. And rushes it over the first base with the trail of a 747. That's what that ball that was hit by Galarraga sounded like when it left the park.
Juan Samuel flied out in his first at-bat, and he fouls a pitch back in his 1-1. You know, when Dave Dombrowski of the Expos went after Kevin Gross, there was a very good reason for it. He'd been an Expo killer. He was 11-3 against the Montreal Expos. So the Expos went out and got a guy that had been tough on them. Now, the New York Mets basically did the same thing when picking up Juan Samuel. They went after a guy that had been extra tough on them. Samuel hits a rope, caught by Spike Owen. Line drive into the glove of the shortstop. 2 away.
First baseman,
The first ground ball almost knocks down Tim Wallach. Now this line drive off the bat of Samuel almost drags Spike Owen into left field. Nice play by the Expo shortstop.
Equals the play made by Wallach earlier. And 2 away. Going inside to Magadan, ball 1. To finish the thought on Samuel against the New York Mets, he has a lifetime average of 284 and it hit 18 home runs, more than against any other team in the National League. No wonder Davey Johnson liked the pop from his bat. Dave Magadan has been Mr. Fill-in. Last year in June, when Keith Hernandez was hurt, Magadan had the 4th best batting average for the month. He hit .370 in 52 games with Hernandez out. And this year, in the 28 games since Hernandez went on the disabled list, he's hitting .346 with 3 home runs. No offense, Keith, but
Mr. Fill-in. Yankees used to have a player, Phil Linz, who was more or less a utility infielder, filled in at second, short, and third, so I guess he was the perfect fill-in.
3-1 as Kevin Gross struggles to control his pitches again against Magadan, who walked in the first.
Magadan's the type of hitter that will make sure that you throw him a strike before he swings the bat.
Walk number 4 surrendered by Gross with 2 away in the second.
Third baseman, Howard Johnson.
Howard Johnson receives a great round of applause as he comes back to the plate after hitting a 2-run home run in the first. Mets lead 2-1, bottom of the second inning from Shea Stadium. Howard Johnson leads the Mets in home runs, walks, stolen bases, and errors.
Now, Howard's batted in 7 different spots in the Mets lineup this season and has hit a home run in every one of those spots in the lineup. So it doesn't matter where Davey Johnson puts him, Howard can find the range.
Fouls away a 1-0 pitch, 1-1. Now it seems to me with Juan Samuel now with the New York Mets, and at this point in his career I think a better second baseman than he is a center fielder, Davey Johnson now has the option of playing Howard Johnson full-time at third base, or moving him to shortstop, putting Greg Jeffries back to third, his natural position, Juan Samuel into second. Now that takes a pretty good glove if Kevin Elster's out of the lineup. And then Mookie Wilson could play every day in center field.
Well, he does have a few options. Jeffrey's starting to swing a bat a little bit better. Maybe that would make Johnson leave Samuel in the outfield. But the Mets made the fewest errors in the league last season on their way to the playoffs. But this year they're up there among the league leaders in errors. So their defense has struggled. A balk has been called on Kevin Gross. Magadan goes down to second base. So 4 walks and a balk. John McSherry, home plate umpire. 3rd balk of the season on Kevin Gross. Kind of a little bit of hurry up. Didn't come to a complete stop. You know, McSherry and Larry Bernard have something in common.
What's that?
Well, they both attended St. John's University. I don't know, it wasn't at the same time, or might have been in about the same age.
Two away, runner on second base, and here's the 2-1 pitch. Howard Johnson hits another high fly ball. Brooks is back. He'll watch it go. Home run, Howard Johnson. At-bats, 2 home runs, and the Mets lead 4-1.
Hojo has been hot. Coming in, he had 32 RBIs in his last 44 ball games. And Ubi Brooks is the last one to see it alive.
Now Strawberry's up. 2 away, a 2-out home run for Howard Johnson. It is the 3rd time he's hit 2 home runs in a game, and he's just had 2 at-bats. He did it against Montreal back in 1986 and once against Houston. And it ties the high for RBIs in a game. That's what that pitch looked like to Howard Johnson.
It looked a lot smaller when it was leaving.
A very slow changeup. in the air by Strawberry, who tried to put that where Howard Johnson put the last one. Nothing doing. Well, it's been Howard Johnson night against Kevin Gross. 2 hits against Gross, 2 home runs. Both times walks have scored before Hojo. After 2 at Shea Stadium in New York, 4-1 Mets. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. Three home runs in this game, 2 by Howard Johnson, another by Andres Galarraga. In the start of a 3-game series, and we'll be back again with a special afternoon presentation on Wednesday, the getaway day for the Montreal Expos as they move on to Chicago. The Expos and the Mets at 1:30 Eastern Time Wednesday. Bryn Smith against David Cone in that one. And tomorrow night, Dennis Martinez pitches against Sid Fernandez. The Mets lead 4-1 as Doc Gooden goes back out to the mound to face Kevin Gross in the top of the 3rd inning.
We've had almost as many flights leaving this park as leaving LaGuardia Airport.
There have now been 52 home runs hit at Shea Stadium this season. The Mets have hit 34 of them, the opposition 18. So they're on pace to hit more in this park than were hit last year as the count goes 2-0 against Kevin Gross. This park surrendered 101 home runs last year, 7th amongst National League ballparks. 67 home runs hit here by the Mets. Only Cincinnati used its own ballpark with more home runs. Three and 1 to Gross.
Well, Gross trying to get on base, taking 2 strikes, not 1. Usually you get behind 3-0, you take 1 strike. Gross took 2.
And fouled off the 3-2 pitch.
Now, Kevin is not an automatic out at the plate. He can swing the bat with authority. He's had a home run himself in each of the last 3 seasons. He takes his batting practice very seriously.
Had to be quick to get around on that and get a piece of it. Did a good job to stay alive in this at-bat. Gooden had decided he wasn't going to fool around with the pitcher. And he didn't fool around with him. Couldn't throw the last one by him, and he just burned that one in. Strikeout number 3 for Gooden.
K-corner. High fastball.
Center fielder Dave Martinez.
You know, most pitchers are taught to pitch low. But the pitchers that can really get it up there in a hurry, like a Gooden or a Clemens or even a Mark Langston, pitchers like that, strikeout pitchers, they can afford to throw high in the strike zone because the hitters just can't catch up to it. You really have to be quick to turn around a high fastball from a pitcher of that type. Let's not forget Nolan Ryan.
Martinez showed bunt. 1-0. Now 1-1. Dave Martinez has a .290 lifetime batting average against Dwight Gooden.
Now that would tell you right there that Martinez is a pretty good fastball hitter, and he's seen 2 breaking balls in the first 2 pitches.
Inside 2-1.
And when Gooden throws that fastball on any half of the plate to the left-handed hitters, it seems to tail in on their hands as if he's holding the ball just a little bit off center. That gives it that slider type look. There's a curveball. That's nasty.
2-2.
And you get to the point you're ahead on the count, 2-1. You look for the fastball, and he drops a nasty hook in there.
Finishes him off for strikeout number 4, his second consecutively in the 3rd inning. It appears these guys need to have an ample supply of Ks tonight.
Second baseman, Tom.
Looks like he's throwing darts. Boom, right to the glove, right on target.
Now he'll face Tom Foley with 2 away. John McSherry's called time and is saying something to the Expo dugout. Ball 1 to Tom Foley. Mets 4, Expos 1. Top of the 3rd inning, 2 away. Dwight Gooden against Kevin Gross. Both have given up 2 hits. Gross, though, a pair of 2-run home runs. Plagued by wildness early. 2-0. The pitching coach.
Wildness is one thing, but wildness in the strike zone is something else. When you start catching too much of the plate, that's when a hitter like Howard Johnson comes to life. When you make mistakes to a guy who's swinging the bat very well, you fall behind him on the count, and then when you come in with a strike, it's not in a good location. You're just asking for trouble.
First walk surrendered by Doc Gooden. A 2-out walk to Tom Foley.
The first baseman, Andres Galarraga.
Now Gooden will have to face Andres Galarraga, who's hit him pretty well for his career and hit his 10th home run of the season in the first for the Expos' only run.
That ball went well over 400 feet to the left of the scoreboard.
Inside fastball, ball 1. There's some heat.
You know, it's not unusual for a catcher after catching a Doc Gooden or a Mark Langston. Their fingers are swollen after the game from that constant pounding. Most of them put sponges inside their gloves to cushion the blow of catching a 90-mile-per-hour fastball. But even with that, even a batter's glove and a cushion in their gloves, their hands come out red and puffy after the ball game. You can see the batter's glove.
Which begs the question, why the heck would you want to do that?
You know, catching is becoming a position that's becoming harder and harder to fill. Most good athletes don't want to catch. Most of them either want to pitch or play the outfield or shortstop.
1-1, and he just blew it by Andres Galarraga. Put an extra mile per hour on that.
Dwight Gooden. Oh,
Smoke.
Little one-on-one.
Two away. Foley's leading off first. Here's the 1-2. Inside fastball, 2-2.
You might notice how he's trying to keep all the fastballs in on the hands of Galarraga. That pitch in the first inning, he got out over the plate. The big cat put the good wood on it and rode it out over the 396 sign in right center. Now still some yelling from the Expo dugout, and Buck Rogers said, "What are you looking over here for?" I think Buck said, "You got enough problems on the field. Let's go here." All quiet on the Mets front. You can tell who's leading this ball game at this time. Big John from the Bronx, New York. He's not going to take any guff. Notice what he said when he got behind the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Let's go.
A heated exchange. Now back to the heat. Here's the 2-2. And Galarraga struck out. He fed him fastball after fastball and struck him out on a breaking ball. Strikeout number 5 for Dwight Gooden, and the Expos are gone in the 3rd. The Mets come back to the plate leading 4-1.
Right now, ushers are passing through the aisles to give you your USA Today All-Star Fan Ballot. This is the time to vote for all your favorite.
Buck Rogers and the Expos will have to let their bats do the talking now. It's the Mets 4 and the Expos 1. This is Labatt, Expos Baseball on TSN. The New York Mets, on a pair of 2-run home runs off the bat of Howard Johnson, have a 4-1 lead over the Montreal Expos in their 4th meeting of the season. The Mets trying to even this series in the Expos' first game at Shea Stadium. McReynolds, Jeffries, and Lyons due up against Kevin Gross. Steps off to allow the 8:35 to Washington to pass by.
I wonder if that's that new Trump Airlines, that Trump shuttle that now runs up and down the northeast corridor here in the United States. Donald Trump bought himself a new airline. He bought some of the Eastern planes. And I saw him the other day. We came into LaGuardia last night, and there they are sitting.
Well, Ken, the way I figure it, they're flying close enough here. You should be able to read the sign. In fact, you should be able to identify any friends who might be aboard.
Exactly. You know, I used to come to Shea Stadium back in the 60s and sit up near the top of the stadium here.
Feel like I could reach out and touch it?
Well, we were afraid to stand up during the 7th inning stretch. Way up there.
The Euchre seats.
My name's probably carved in a few of those seats up there. Now watch, those people will duck when this plane comes by.
Yeah, I saw him. McReynolds hits a fly ball curving into right field and caught by Hubie Brooks. There's the first out of the 3rd inning for Kevin Gross.
Now it's up to Gross to settle down and stop the bleeding here as we move into the 3rd inning. Just try to hold the Mets where they are at 4 and give the Expos a chance to get back in this game. He certainly had his share of problems early in his ballgame. 4 walks, 2 home runs. He's only given up 2 hits. The Mets haven't really earned their stripes.
But then you could argue that he's been so wild, he's been impossible to hit. Jeffries has pumped his average up 32 points in the last 10 games. He's on a roll, and you may have hit on something when you talked about Davy Johnson's reluctance to move him now. The bat's starting to go. They've been playing him at second base, trying to get him to learn a new position. Now that he's starting to hit, best just leave well enough alone.
Of course, he was the odds-on choice for Rookie of the Year after coming up last September and doing a great job for the Mets down the stretch, hitting well over 300. But he was a 3rd baseman at that time primarily. Then come the spring training, having learned in fancy footwork around second base. Mets coach Buddy Harrelson in charge of the new positioning of Greg Jeffries. Takes a while. Second base is not an easy position to learn. In fact, second base, you have more former shortstops playing second than anything else, not players who came up as second baseman alone. Most players have had to learn second.
Early in this season, his toughest adjustment seemed to be in turning the double play, and that's where the Mets had to be patient with him.
It's Buddy Harrelson, the man with the glasses. Former Mets shortstop in the Mets Hall of Fame. Former teammate of mine when I first came up to the major leagues.
Remember one game in the spring we watched down in Florida when 4 times Jeffries tried to turn the double play on the Expos and 4 times they beat it out? This bat's working fine, knocked down by Raines. Jeffries going for 2. Double. for Greg Jeffries. Third hit off Kevin Gross. The Labatt player of the game for the Mets tonight received something new under the sun, Canon's new Prima Shot. The world's first automatic camera with detachable infrared remote control. Compact, packed with the latest technology and the remarkable removable remote control. One out double for Jeffries. And Barry Lyons is at the plate, having struck out. Jeffries takes his lead off second base.
You know, Lyons has done a very good job filling in for Gary Carter while Carter's been on the disabled list, and with Lyons and Magadan stepping in, they've helped keep the Mets in this race. Good breaking ball. Gross seems to be getting it together.
Jeffries is headed for third, and he's caught up. He made a mistake. He got greedy, and he's in a rundown and trying to get out of it. Gross got the help out in that play, and the Expos erased the double. Jeffries took off and shouldn't have.
It was a good idea at first, but the one person he didn't see was Tom Foley, who hustled to back up once his throw got away from Kevin Gross. Now Jeffrey sees that Spike Owen is away from the ball, but he didn't see Tom Foley hustling to back up the play. And Tom Foley should get credit for this out, although a number of Expos will be in on it.
Now there's a major league rundown. Jeffries is gone for the second out, and Lyons is at the plate. A ball and 2 strikes as Gross blew one by him. So now Gross seems to have regained his control here in the third. He's thrown some good curveballs, a couple of good fastballs. See if he can finish off Lyons. Foul.
That play went 4-5, 6-1-6. So if anybody has...
Sounds like a phone number.
It sounds like the lottery number. Check those numbers. You might be a winner. 4-5, 6-1-6.
Lyons hits a fly ball to left. Raines is back on the track, makes the catch, and Gross is out of the third. He gave up a hit, a double, but Jeffries was erased in the rundown, and Kevin Gross had some control. The best he's shown so far in this game. Jeffries frustrated out in a rundown. 4-1 Mets. This is Labatt Expos baseball on TSN. Now let's welcome back to Shea Stadium. The East Division teams are in the heat of a 4-team race. The Cardinals are very much involved. New York Mets, Chicago Cubs, and the Montreal Expos. And well, we as baseball fans can only hope that 4 teams stay in it all summer long. It'll make for some great games. Ground ball off the bat of Raines. Magadan, the first baseman, handles it himself. One away for Dwight Gooden in the fourth. Gooden has given up 2 hits, one of them a home run to Andres Galarraga, and he has struck out 5.
Gooden has allowed 6 home runs this season. When Ron Darling leads the Mets staff, he's allowed 10 to lead the park.
Some things you have to like about Doc Gooden. Of course, his 99 wins. He has as many wins in the first half as he has in the second half of his seasons during his career. He has more career wins in August, September, and October than he has in April and May. His ERA on the road is almost equal to his ERA at home. The 0-1 to Hubie Brooks. 1-1. And he's struck out 10 or more 38 times.
I think the thing that's most impressive about Gooden, at this stage of his career, he's 62 games above 500.
Incredible. As is Hubie Brooks' success against Doc Gooden. 2 for 2, a double, and now a single in the fourth with 1 away.
You know, one thing a hitter has to do against those hard-throwing pitchers is cut down his swing. Can't really lean back and go for the pump every single time. You have to rely on the hard throwers to supply most of the power. Hubie Brooks cuts down his swing considerably against Gooden and gets hit after hit.
So now Wallach with a man aboard, and the Expos trying to catch up, trailing 4-1, fourth inning. The Expos lead the league in doubles. Wallach leads the team. Off the fists and foul, 0-2.
You know, one thing when you're hitting a lot of doubles, you're using the whole field. Means the Expos are finding the gaps, hitting the balls into the corners, using their team speed to turn singles into doubles. And the defense has to set up accordingly. In the outfield, they're straight away.
Yep. A ball and 2 strikes. Gooden to Wallach. Fans upset, anticipating. Strikeout number 6.
There you see the outfielders. That's the way after double they laid out the field. You in center, right behind the pitcher. You in right field, just between the first baseman and the second baseman. Look out.
He's struck out 5. Dwight Gooden's career high is 16 in a game, and he's done it 3 times. Two-2 pitch bounced up. Lyons hustles to get the mask off and get the ball. Hubie Brooks is held at first.
You notice Gooden comes back with a breaking ball after moving Wallach off the plate. Brush back pitches from pitchers like Gooden take on a new meaning for a hitter.
Wow, I
you
guess
can
so.
feel your heart beating a little bit harder in your chest. I remember Nolan Ryan coming close to me, and I was just thinking, gee, don't be so mean. I'm not.
Brooks is on the way. Wallach fouls off the pitch.
So even with the Expos down by 3 runs, manager Buck Rogers feels that Tim Wallach can get some wood on the ball. And he has Hubie Brooks moving on a 3-2 count with 1 out. See if Hubie goes again.
He's off and running. Wallach makes contact, but fouled again. And Hubie does some wind sprints.
You know, and each time you do that, you walk back a little slower just to catch your breath. It takes you a little longer to pick up that sign from the third base coach. And first base gets further and further away.
Jackie Moore has delivered the signs. 1 away, the 3-2 pitch. Strikeout number 6 for Gooden.
That time Hubie did not go. And it's a good thing he decided to stall at first base. Foul tipped and held by Barry Lyons. See the dismay on Wallach's face as we headed to the 6th dimension.
Two away then for Nelson Santovania. Brooks remains at first. Ball 1 to Santovania. Just back off the disabled list. The Expos employing 3 catchers. 9 men in the bullpen, or 9 pitchers, 4 of them in the pen. And that's the way the Mets go when Gary Carter is healthy, and have in the past. 3 catchers. When you've got a great starting staff, you can afford to have just 4 men in the pen. Ball and a strike to Santavania. Brooks with the lead off first. Mets 4, Expos 1. Gooden missed with a breaking ball, 2-1.
Former President Richard Nixon at the ball game tonight, taking in the New York Mets. I wonder if he'll say hello to Otis during this evening.
You just never know who you'll see at a ball game in LA or New York. Three and 1 to Nelson Santavania. Line drive to left, sinks into the glove of Kevin McReynolds. Santavania hit it hard, but right at the left fielder. Once again, Doc Gooden gave up a hit. He gave it up to Hubie Brooks, who's 2 for 2, and once again, Hubie Brooks was stranded aboard in the 4th. The Expos trail 4-1 in the middle of the 4th. This is Labatt, Expos Baseball on TSN. Okay, before we go any further, let's make one thing perfectly clear. The one on the right is Otis Nixon.
And he runs considerably faster, but maybe not better than Richard. He ran a few good campaigns.
Hi, I'm Mark Langston. Join me on the Extra Innings Show after the game. You can even call me Collect.
Oh, won't that be interesting? Mark Langston makes his first appearance on Extra Innings immediately following the ball game, so save up your questions and speak with Mark right after the game. There's the number to make note of. Extra Innings with Mark Langston, the Expo left-hander, coming up. Langston was defeated yesterday by the Chicago Cubs. He hasn't had great starts at home. His best starts since joining the Expos have been on the road, and his next start will be on the road in Chicago at Wrigley Field, more like an American League ballpark for Langston.
More like the Kingdome.
Yeah. Kevin Gross pitching to Kevin Elster. Foul back.
Just over our TSN booth here.
I was ready.
Oh.
I'd have saved you, Ken.
It's been tough to hit me underneath this table here.
0-2 to Elster.
Is it safe to come up now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our location at Shea Stadium, just up behind home plate, on about the second deck, I suppose. One and 2. Fair ball. Elster's gone. One away in the Mets' 4th.
The pitcher, Gooden.
The pitcher, Dwight Gooden, is up now against Kevin Gross. 1 mid out, bottom of the 4th inning. Gooden fouls the pitch back. Juan Samuel is on deck. Oh, and 2. Interesting day of dealing for the Philadelphia Phillies. Steve Bedrosian sent to San Francisco. Boy, the Giants are immediately contenders to win the West now if they weren't before. Well, you can team up Big Daddy and Bedrock, Rick Russell and Steve Bedrosian.
Craig Lefferts doing a good job on the left-handed side out of the San Francisco bullpen. Now that's if Bedrosian is 100% solid. Now I've heard rumors that he's got a tender arm. Ooh. So we'll have to see about that one.
It's not from being overworked with the Phillies. Didn't have many save situations. Popped up foul territory. Galarraga next to the fans, and he pulled it down. Tough play amongst some fans who were greedy for a souvenir. Stay tuned following the game tonight for our TSN Turning Point, brought to you this evening by Converse. And Samuel is the batter after the Andres Galarraga catch of the foul ball hit by Dwight Gooden. 2 away now, and a 1-0 count on Samuel.
Yeah, Jim, sometimes when a team has made a deal and it doesn't work out because of an injury to the player or one of the players in the trade, you know, one of the teams might call foul. You delivered us damaged goods. Then it becomes up to the president of the National League, in this case Bill White, to make a decision whether the trade will stand or not. So we'll have to see. Now there's only rumors. I don't want to say that Bedrosian has a sore arm, but I heard rumors in Philadelphia that he wasn't throwing at 100%.
Well, we'll hear this screaming from the West Coast loud and clear if indeed there's something wrong with Steve Bedrosian.
Samuel has hit the ball hard his first 2 times up, lined out the left field, and then was robbed of a base hit by Spike Owen on another line shot.
2 out, the 2-2 pitch way outside. So Len Dykstra is now a Philadelphia Philly. Davey Johnson was told that the deal was firm yesterday early in the ball game between the Phils and the Mets, and he said he felt funny about it. And finally, in the 7th inning, he pinch hit with Don Carmen pitching. Barry Lyons for Len Dykstra. Dykstra said, "I knew something was up. I was hitting 450 off Carmen." Roger McDowell had lost his spot to Rick Aguilera in the bullpen. They're both Phillies. Samuel's the Met. Outside, ball 4. Samuel's aboard for the first time. Walk number 5 for Gross, his first since the 2nd.
Well, this is the ideal situation for a Juan Samuel. 2 outs. He's on first base. You know what he has on his mind? His second base.
He has stolen 11 and been caught 3 times.
You know, talking to Otis Nixon and Tim Raines, 2 of the better base stealers in the league, they feel it's easier to steal on artificial surface because you get a little more spring.
There goes Samuel, the throw from Santavina, safe at second base. Spike Owen thought he had him.
Charlie Williams with the call down at second base. Juan Samuel with his first steal in a Mets uniform. Let's take a look and see how close it is. The throw, it's a pretty good throw. It looked like he had his right hand on and then switched to his left hand. Samuel off and running. The throw, maybe a hair high, and that could have been the difference. I believe if Spike had kept that glove down instead of pulling it up, he might have got an out call.
Looked like the right hand was in. Counts 2-1 on Dave Magadan. Spike Owen watches as Samuel has dusted himself off and takes his lead off second.
It appeared that Samuel got his right hand in safely, then slid off the bag, but When Spike on brought the glove up, Samuel grabbed the bag with his left hand. Kevin Gross almost got the call on that pitch from John McSherry. That right hand flinched, but he didn't bring it up.
Remember, the bone that was chipped was in his right hand, his throwing hand. Base hit for Magadan. Samuels around third. He'll score. The Mets lead 5-1.
A two-out walk and a stolen base sets up a New York Met run. Samuel now at second base, and Magadan, the type of hitter who hits to all field. Inside-out swing, and the Mets pick up another run.
Three of the 5 men walked by Kevin Gross have scored. Howard Johnson, 2 hits, two-run home runs at the plate. Has equaled career highs in home runs in a game and RBIs in a game. And the Mets and the Expos are playing in the 4th inning. 2 away. Strike one, 1-1. Magadan on first has now scored 2 and driven in 1. He's 1 for 1 with a pair of walks.
Howard Johnson's always a good fastball hitter, but when he's really swinging well, he's hitting the curveball out of the park, and he's done it twice tonight.
Pop up in foul territory. Wallach races over. He'll run out of room. A ball and 2 strikes. Last year at this time, June the 19th, Montreal lost 9-3 in Chicago and fell 12 games back of the New York Mets. The closest they got was 4.5 back in August. They're ahead of the Mets, but trailing in this game. Ground ball, Tom Foley up with it, and Gross is out of the 4th inning, and Howard Johnson unable to do any more damage. He's driven in 4. Now Magadan has driven in 1. A run on a hit in the 4th for the Mets, and they lead with Dwight Gooden pitching 4-1. This is 5-1. This is Labatt Expos baseball on TSN. 5-1. The Mets lead the Expos in their first meeting of the season at Shea Stadium in New York. Welcome back, everyone. This is Jim Houston with Ken Singleton at Shea Stadium as you watch the Expos on TSN. On a road trip that will take the Expos from New York to Chicago, so they'll battle the team right behind them and the team right in front of them, and that may change as this week goes on. Dwight Gooden's back on the mound. He's looking for his 100th career victory tonight. What a terrific career for a ball player who's not yet 25. Up against Spike Owen. Owen flied out in the 2nd. Gooden has had everything tonight. A great breaking ball. The fastball has had more than enough on it. He's given up 3 hits, a home run to Galarraga and a double and a single to Hubie Brooks.
Spike Owen has seen Gooden in October. Going back to the World Series of 1986, and what a series it was. Spike Owen and his Red Sox came up just a hair short to the New York Mets.
Spike was great at the plate against the Mets. He was great in the championship series that year against California, and then he hit 300 against the Mets playing regularly in the World Series. The Mets in the last 5 years have won 488 ball games entering this season. No fewer than 90 wins per season. With Doc Gooden pitching and Davey Johnson at the helm. Over that period of time, the Expos won 418. So in the last 5 years, the Expos are 68.5 games back of the Mets. The walk to Spike Owen is the second surrendered by Doc Gooden. This year they're celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Miracle Mets and pointing out how good the Mets have been in the last 5 years. They forget, how soon they forget, that in the Mets' first 5 years, their highest win total was 66, and their total for the first 5 years in the league was 260 wins, as opposed to 488 in the last 5 years. The last 5 years, no fewer than 90 wins. Their first 5 years, no fewer than 95 losses.
I can recall those days. They were brutal. I mean, they were just plain a bad baseball team. They had a lot of stars that were over the hill. They went for the marquee value of players who were well on the downside of their careers, but could bring out some fans to the ballpark, and they drew well.
Their first 2 years at the Polo Grounds.
I went
to
see
there?
it. Oh, I certainly did.
What was it like?
It was in the Bronx. No, it was in northern New York City. I'm sorry. And on Manhattan. And it was like a big horseshoe ballpark, 250 feet down each line, but about 475 to straightaway center as Kevin Gross fouls this ball off. And I can recall going to see the San Francisco Giants in a doubleheader against the Mets. And the Giants scored 7 runs in the first inning of the first game. And the Mets scored a run in the bottom of the first. Met fans stood up and cheered and said, "Here we come." Well, the Giants ended up winning something like 15-3 in the first game, and they won the second one too.
Kevin Gross checking signs with Jackie Moore. 0-1's the count. Spike Owen aboard at first base. 5-1 Mets, 5th inning. Bunt fouled off.
But even with all the success over the Yankees over the year, a lot of people feel that New York is a National League town. And when the Mets came to town, a lot of people took them to heart, even though they knew they weren't going to be any good. And they lost and lost and kept losing. But once they built themselves into contenders, you know, then Shea Stadium came into being. You know, Met baseball, Mets have one of the strongest organizations going now.
Here's the 0-2. Finally, Gross gets the bunt down, and it's a good one. And Gooden tags him out. Spike Owen advanced to second base.
So the Expos trying to convert a leadoff walk. Spike Owen now in scoring position. Kevin Gross gets the job done on an 0-2 pitch. Shows you a little bit of determination.
Dave Martinez, who struck out twice, is up with 1 out and a runner in scoring position.
Dave Martinez has been bothered by a slight rib cage pull. I've had those, and they can linger on and on and on because you keep aggravating it when you're swinging and playing. But he says it's not that serious to keep him out of the lineup. I've had him so bad where it's hard to breathe.
If you're ever going to have an attack, today would be the right day.
You know, breathing is pretty important when it comes to playing baseball or just about anything else.
Trying to get around on a Gooden fastball could aggravate an injury in a hurry, couldn't it?
Injury or
just plain aggravate.
Yeah.
1-1's the count. 1 away.
Whoa.
Whoa. Dennis Martinez, Wallace Johnson bailed out in a hurry, and a rocket. Martinez just stayed alive, getting around on a Gooden fastball.
I think I'll be going in the clubhouse now.
Let's go to a safer place. Wide awake now.
Tough play.
McReynolds comes up with the ball. Owens around third. He scores. And Dave Martinez is out at second base. Out of the reach of Kevin Elster and Kevin McReynolds. Spike Owens scores on the hit by Dave Martinez.
Martinez has been swinging the bat well, and this isn't one of his better hits, but it's well placed. McReynolds led the league in assists last year, throwing on the run. No match for Spike Owens. And Spike, with a heads up base running, saw that it wasn't going to be caught, and he took off.
So Dave Martinez is awarded a double and an RBI. The 11th RBI of the season. His 6th double, and the Expos' 2nd double of the night. Martinez is in scoring position. It's 5-2 now. The Mets lead the Expos, and the Expos trying to count more against Doc Gooden in the 5th.
Maybe that ribcage injury bothering Dave Martinez so much he can't get around or take a big swing, and he dunked it in there. It looked like a little service right on the baseline. Good top spin lob.
Gooden turned around, wanted to throw the ball to second, but there was nobody there. Elster hadn't moved over behind Martinez. Tom Foley is flied out and walked. 0-1 pitch. Foley fouls it off. 0-2 is the count. Martinez with the lead. The 0-2 pitch is fouled off. We've seen a lot of that tonight, and that's an indication of just how hard Gooden is throwing this evening. The left-handed batters just barely get enough of it to foul it off to their left. Again, Gooden chases Martinez back. Martinez is running. Lyons is up with the ball, but he didn't throw it. Couldn't get it out of his glove, I guess. It looked like he might have a play, but Martinez got a great jump, and with the head first slide has safely stolen third.
Dwight Gooden last year, 56 stolen bases with him on the mound, and not much of a chance for Lyons, even if he had come up with the ball cleanly. Martinez had a great jump at second base. Gooden took a long time to unfold and deliver it to the plate.
Lions, on the replay, you can see, got the ball out. He just decided not to throw it.
He did the best thing of holding on to it. Martinez really exploded, had almost a running start at third base. And now the Expos build another run, or a chance for another run, a runner on third, and one out. That was a big stolen base.
8th of the season for Dave Martinez. 1-2 to Tom Foley, and he throws it away. In comes Martinez to score, and the Expos are within 2 at 5-3 for the Mets. Wild pitch to the backstop.
So the speed of Dave Martinez, first a bloop double, stealing third, and then Doc Gooden just throwing this one away. Looked like a curveball that just slipped out of his hand. And what an inopportune time for the Mets. It's the 7th wild pitch for Dwight Gooden this year.
And he struck out Tom Foley for his 7th strikeout. But the Expos have scored and are within 2. They're even in hits at 4 apiece.
This breaking ball have enough bite? According to John McSherry, it dropped down low enough to be called a strike. Foley didn't agree.
There have been a few disagreeing Expos tonight. Andres Galarraga with a foul ball down the left field line. Galarraga has a home run and is struck out. Even in hits at 4 apiece are the Mets and the Expos, but Howard Johnson has a pair of 2-run home runs. The Expos trying to scratch their way back into this. Howard Johnson at third base tonight. His damage has been done at the plate. One and one to Galarraga. Gooden worked quickly. Another fastball low, 2-1. In the 3rd inning, when Galarraga struck out, Gooden gave him a whole bunch of high inside fastballs and then struck him out with a breaking ball. Another fastball, and Galarraga fouls it away.
Gooden has had at least 1 strikeout an inning. That's what strikeout pitchers give you. Not too many bridges to cross. That's the Whitestone Bridge.
Ground ball off the fist. Second baseman Jeffries up with it, over to Magadan for the out, and the Expos are gone in the 5th. But they were able to come up with 2 runs on a hit. Good base running. Dave Martinez with a double, a stolen base, and he scored in a wild pitch. Spike Owens scored another run, and the Expos are within a couple. It's the New York Mets 5 and the Montreal Expos 3. This is Labatt Expos baseball on TSN. Perhaps the Expos have been able to sense that they might not be able to get an awful lot of hits off Dwight Gooden tonight. Have 4, but he's had great stuff. So in the 4th inning, they went to work and scored 2 runs on a hit. Used the stolen base, took advantage of a wild pitch, and are very much in the game against Doc Gooden, who has now struck out 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's right, 7. Darryl Strawberry will lead off against Kevin Gross. Strawberry was real tough on the Expos last year. Hit .333 with 5 home runs and 13 runs batted in against Montreal. He's a career .305 hitter against the Expos, and in his career has 26 home runs against Montreal, more than against any other team.
Recently hit his 200th of his career, so more than 1 out of every 10 has been against the Expos.
Popped up foul territory. Galarraga makes the catch. And some boos for the straw man. As he heads to the dugout, what have you done for us lately?
Left fielder Kevin McReynolds.
What did Frank Sinatra say? If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. They want you to make it every single day here in New York.
Short memories. Kevin Gross has settled down since the first couple of innings when he looked like he wouldn't last long in this game. Faced 8 batters and gave up just 1 hit in the first inning. That was a 2-run home run and left the bases loaded, and he was lucky that the floodgates didn't get wide open. Diving for the ball was Foley. By him, though, and Kevin McReynolds has his first hit of the night. A single up the middle in the bottom of the 5th.
You know, one thing when infielders dive on natural surface, the hops aren't as consistent. When you leave your feet on artificial surface, you know just about where to put your glove. But that last hop, when you leave your feet on natural surface, is a little inconsistent, and sometimes you come up a little bit short, or the ball goes underneath your glove.
Outside, ball 1 to Greg Jeffries from Kevin Gross.
He had a big 3 in the Mets lineup. Johnson, Strawberry, and McReynolds. They have power, but they also can steal bases. McReynolds has 10 at first base. Strawberry has 9, and Howard Johnson came in with 11.
Last season, McReynolds wasn't caught. Went 27-0. This season, he's 10-4.
Still a pretty good ratio. Good base stealers should make it about 80% of the time. Maybe cut it down 77, 75% of the time. At least 3 out of every 4. The better ones make it for a higher percentage, in the 80 percentile range.
The Mets as a team have a 73% success rate on the base paths. They've stolen 59, have been caught 21 times. As a team, what do you think? Should be over 70%?
Because you got to put in there the odd situation on hit and runs where somebody gets caught. You might have a catcher moving, not one of your faster players.
Fouled away by Jeffries. The count's 1-2. The Cardinals lead the league in percentage, well over 80%. The Expos, while they are second in the league in stolen bases, are successful only 65% of the time. One away, the 1-2 pitch to Jeffries. Santavania was quickly up. Looked as though he might snap the ball down to first base. McReynolds got back. Counts 2-2. A line drive foul.
A hard-earned souvenir. A laser into the seats. Didn't spill a drop.
2-2 on Jeffries. McReynolds not going. And Jeffries has struck out.
Santavania, in his haste to come up with a breaking ball, hit that finger on part of John McSherry's equipment, maybe even if it was his mask. And although that finger is well enough to play, it's still not 100%.
Very tender. So assistant trainer Mike Kozak is out to have a look at it, and Buck Rogers was quick to come out as well.
You know, that still is a stinging proposition for Nelson Santovenia. Breaking ball that Jeffries will chase. Now, McReynolds has taken a good lead. Now watch. Comes up.
Oh. Indeed, it's off the mask of John McSherry. Strikeout number 2 for Kevin Gross. 2 away, bottom of the 5th inning. And the Mets leading the Expos 5-3. The batter will be Barry Lyons. Lyons has struck out and flied out. He's 0 for 2. Outside, ball 1.
Well, the Mets were thinking about sending McReynolds, and this would be the good time. 2 outs. Lyons at the plate, trying to measure his lead at first base.
Not going. Lyons hits the ball to center field. Long run for Martinez, and he makes a nice running catch to retire the side. Dave Martinez had to sprint hard in center field, and he made the catch. Lyons is gone, and so are the Mets in the bottom of the 5th. McReynolds got a hit, but he's stranded at first, and the Expos trail the New York Mets by a couple after 5 in New York. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. A 2-run ball game at Shea Stadium in New York. The Montreal Expos have 4 hits off Dwight Gooden. He has struck out 7. The Expos have left 3 through their first 5. The New York Mets have 5 hits off Kevin Gross. 2 of them 2-run home runs, and that's why they lead 5-3, and they've left 5. Tim Raines to lead off against Gooden in the top of the 6th inning.
Yeah, the Mets hit 24 home runs against the Expos in 1988.
Ouch.
But so far this year, the Expos have out-homered the Mets 3-2.
Mets didn't get a homer in that first series. High fly ball. McReynolds has called off Elster, and Raines is gone, and he's 0 for 3.
That ball was well up there. Reynolds had plenty of time to come in. That almost hit that plane that just went over.
It's a little too dark. I couldn't quite catch it. Hubie Brooks is up against Gooden. Hubie's 2 for 2 with a double and a single, and owns Doc Gooden. Started the night hitting .364 against Gooden and has pumped that average up. A foul pop-up. Should be a play from Agadan. Is 2 away. So Gooden gets Brooks for the first time thanks to Magadan. Quickly 2 out for Tim Wallach.
Former All-American at the University of Alabama.
Wallach waited on a breaking ball, hit it down the line.
Nice play.
You bet. Oh, and 1 to Wallach. The race in the East has stayed close because no one in the head-to-head competition of late has been able to take off, playing each other. Chicago's 4-6 in its last 10. The Expos 5-5. The Mets are 5-5. The Cards 6-4. Nobody's had a 9-1. Foul ball. Hojo threw it across anyway.
I think Hojo's got a better arm than that ball girl, though. And she did make a nice play. You got to.
Yeah, I didn't see her make the throw. Strikeout number 8 for Doc Gooden. And he breezes through the Expos, Raines, Brooks, and Wallach in the 6th inning, and has a 5-3 lead that he's working with as the Mets come to bat in the bottom of the 6th. This is Labatt, Expos Baseball on TSN. What is that? Could we be about to enter? Oh, Shea Stadium. And just another plane going overhead. 5-3, the Mets lead the Expos to the bottom of the 6th inning. Elster, Gooden, and Samuel to face Kevin Gross.
Kevin Elster.
Elster's 0 for 2 and now 4 for 12 against the Montreal Expos this season. Started out with a red-hot bat, but has cooled considerably, as you can see, by his .208 average.
Well, he's primarily in the lineup for his defense. I believe after the All-Star break of last season, Elster made just one error at shortstop.
Gross has Elster 0-2. Outside ball 1, 1-2. Now it seems to me that the Mets can afford to have Elster and his light bat in the lineup if everyone else is hitting. But with Strawberry slumping, McReynolds not offering his usual average, he needs some more pop at short, and that's why Elster has been sitting out on occasion, and Howard Johnson has moved over to short. Third strikeout for Kevin Gross. The Labatt player of the game for the Expos receives a complete range of shaving products from Remington, the grooming company, including the Remington Ultimate Shaver, the shaver that shaves as close as a blade, or your money back. Just one of the extensive line of grooming products for men and women.
Well, Buck Rogers has seen Kevin Gross settle down. It's been like 2 different ball games. Gross didn't look like it was going to get past the 2nd inning. Now he's settled into a groove, maybe getting used to the mound, finally getting under control. Maybe his warm-up session in the bullpen wasn't the way it should have been. And he came out with a lack of control, throwing the ball all over the place and really struggling in the early parts of the game.
2-0 to Gooden. He faced 13 men in the first 2 innings and gave up only 2 hits, but he walked 4. The 2 hits were both 2-run home runs. He hit a man.
It's been like a Jekyll and Hyde performance.
Two and 1 to Dwight Gooden. 1 away, bottom of the 6th inning at Shea Stadium.
And in fact, that's the way Gross's season has gone. This ball's fouled back out of play. In his 6 wins, Kevin Gross has posted a 1.65 earned run average. In his 5 losses, his earned run average is 10.04. So there's not much in between as far as Gross is concerned. Either he's very good or he's been very bad. And he's brought both of those facets to his game in here tonight.
This is one of the few occasions where he's mixed them up.
First base coach Bill Robinson. last year Gross was tough on the Mets. He beat Doc Gooden twice. He also beat Nolan Ryan, Mike Scott. So he beat some name brands during the season.
Isn't it odd how he can have such a good lifetime record against a tough club like the Mets, 11-8, yet he's 3-13 against the St. Louis Cardinals. 0-2 this season.
Let me toss in Nolan Ryan. He beat Nolan, and he also beat Pascual Perez last year. So Kevin Gross, when he knows he's going to have a tough outing against an opposite number who can really pitch, he's usually at the top of his game.
Gross has his pitch count up tonight. He's at 109 pitches already in the 6th. Still no action in the pen. Now a base hit for Gooden. A one-out single up the middle for Doc Gooden.
Well, the whole Mets pitching staff, pretty good hitters. That pitch was up in the strike zone, and Gooden made Gross pay with a base hit through the middle. Gooden, Ron Darling, Sid Fernandez, all swing the bat very well.
Is it a Phillies shirt and a guy with the
looks like
green hat?
Mets shirt, but with Phillies across it. Ooh, nasty breaking ball.
Juan Samuel swinging away 0-1. Well, with the Mets giving up McDowell and Dykstra, they gave up about $1.3 million in salary and picked up Juan Samuel at $1.45 million. He becomes the 8th Met millionaire. The Mets are now tied with the Dodgers in that category. He now ranks 6th on the Mets payroll behind Gooden, Carter, Hernandez, McReynolds, and Darling, and just ahead of Darryl Strawberry.
Yeah, Jim, but when you look around the park tonight, this is a Monday night New York. Pretty good crowd. You have a feeling the Mets can afford it, or else they wouldn't have these guys here.
Oh, I'm not feeling sorry for them at all.
I mean, this is a Monday night. This is a typical crowd here in New York. I think it's more impressive when you get crowds like this day in and day out in St. Louis. A much...
Yeah. I just tip my cap to these people for driving here. The rapid transit system, rapid as it may be, comes right to the door. No chance for Galarraga on this. So Samuel moves in front of Strawberry, and the question is not whether the Mets can afford it. It's, will Darryl be steamed that there's another Met making more than he is?
You know, Darryl, I think he recently said that he wants to sign a new deal, a new 3-year contract. You remember back to spring training, he said he wanted to be traded, was never going to sign another deal, wants to go to Los Angeles. Ground ball, might be 2.
Foley tags Gooden over to first, not in time. Samuel safe.
The only chance Tom Foley had of turning a double play was to tag Dwight Gooden and then relay at the first base. Gooden is out, got him on the shoulder. Samuel just runs a little bit too fast. He beats it.
Gooden just squirming out of the way enough to make Foley have to wait an extra second before the throw. And Samuel's safe, 2 away. And Samuel, who stole his 12th base in the 4th inning, is on and likely to take off.
Well, that's how the Mets built. The base hit by Maganin. Has a good contact hitter. Combination with him batting second and Samuel batting first should help the Mets out, but it's going to depend on how much Samuel gets on base.
Coming in was 31%. That's not high enough for a good leadoff man. Davy Johnson thinks he can bring that up. Ground ball, and Spike Owen goes to second for the force on Samuel, and that's it for the Mets in the 6th. They scored 5 runs in the first 4. Kevin Gross has shut the Mets down in the 5th and the 6th. They got a hit, left a man aboard, and the Expos will try and scratch another one. I'm Doc Gooden. 5-3 Mets, end of 6th. This is Labatt, Expos baseball on TSN. Davy Johnson is the manager of the New York Mets. His bench coach is Bud Harrelson. Used to be his third base coach, and he moved on to the bench. So what do you do when you're a bench coach?
Yeah, well, first of all, when I left the third base line after the 1986 season, where we won 114 ball games, and became a bench coach, I had to find out what the heck a bench coach was. You know, obviously all the benches are nailed down, so you don't have to watch them. But I am, in essence, Davy's assistant. We talk about game strategy. I get guys ready for certain situations. I yell at umpires because Davy can't yell. Even I can yell over the planes that go over, but I'm getting more comfortable since '86. '87 was a tough transition for me, but since '87, I know more of my roles. I know what I have to do, and I'm ready for those. I'm getting into a little of psychology with players where Davy doesn't have time to talk to players, and I try to set him down and encourage him. I had a problem this year with Hojo, Howard Johnson throwing, which was a unique problem, and I had to go through a couple of lessons myself trying to learn how to get a guy out of a throwing funk, which he was in, and he's fine now. So my role is a little bit more defined now than it has been in the past.
So now we know what a bench coach does, at least for Davy Johnson. Nelson Santavania leads off the Expos 7th with a base hit off Dwight Gooden. The Expos 5th hit of the night.
Jim, it seems the role to managing starts in the first base coaching box, then moves over to third, then you become a bench coach, and then you're ready to manage, supposedly.
The Expos trail by 2. Spike Owens at the plate with the pitcher's spot on deck. And with a runner on, Santavania singled. Some action in the bullpen, and Mike Aldretti swinging a bat in the on-deck circle. So Buck Rogers is ready to go to the bench. Trying to get back into this game. His team is within 2. One and 0. Andy McGaffigan warming up in the bullpen. Spike fouls one off. It's a ball and a strike. Spike has flied out, walked, and scored.
While there's action in the Expo bullpen, the Mets bullpen is silent.
The good doctors at work. Santavania with a very short lead. Spike Owen hits a fly ball into left center, very shallow. Samuel's coming in. McReynolds comes on and makes the catch.
You got to wonder how important the role of McReynolds will be in the outfield. Remember, he's a former center fielder with the San Diego Padres, covers a lot of ground. Samuel's still learning the position, gives way to his left fielder on this one.
McReynolds obviously had the better start after that pop-up.
You know, for Samuel, I think it's easier playing the outfield on a natural surface outfield. The ball has a tendency to slow up on the grass when it's hitting the gaps, as opposed to the artificial surface where it picks up speed.
Mike Aldretti will bat for Kevin Gross. Fouled off, and Lyons has to walk that off.
Already a pretty good lifetime average against Doc Gooden. This Lyons shaking that foot. Already 6 for 20. Struck out just twice in 20 at-bats against Doc Gooden.
2 for 11 coming off the bench this season for the Expos, with 4 runs batted in. 0-1 pitch misses, ball 1, 1-1. 5-3 Mets. Top of the 7th inning. Kevin Gross is finished for the pinch hitter. Andy McGaffigan warming up to come into the game. The Expos with a runner at first base. Nelson Santabenia has singled one away, and the potential tying run at the plate. Up and in, ball 2. Tomorrow, Martinez and Sid Fernandez. Wednesday at 1:35, Bryn Smith and David Cohn. Kevin Gross is finished for the night. He's worked 6. Fouled into the seats, and the count's even, 2-2. Tomorrow's starter, El Presidente. Bounced up by Gooden. Full count, 3-2. Mike Aldretti trying to work his way aboard here against Doc Gooden. The Expos now have 5 hits off Gooden. He's struck out 8. The Expos have left 3 on tonight. The last 6 games they've left 48 aboard, an average of over 7 per game. There's strikeout number 9 for Gooden.
The Gooden gas. That classic motion. Gooden's fastball has all the sparkle and flash of St. Catherine Street, but he delivered it with the flair of Sherbrooke Street. Classic delivery. As we take a look at the bullpen, that's Rick Aguilera, who's done a good job for the Mets.
Popped up off the fists of Dave Martinez, and the Expos rally is over. Started it off with a single by Nelson Santabenia. Spike Owen flied out. Mike Aldretti struck out, and Dave Martinez popped up. 9 strikeouts for Dwight Gooden as he looks for his 100th career victory. He has a 5-3 lead as the Mets go to work at the plate in the 7th. This is Labatt, Expos Baseball on TSN. 40,064, the paid attendance at Shea Stadium in New York tonight for the Mets and the Montreal Expos, and the Mets are leading 5-3. As we go to the bottom half of the 7th inning, Kevin Gross is finished for the night. Kevin worked 6 innings. Gave up 5 runs on 6 hits, 2 two-run homers, struck out 3 and walked 5, throwing 117 pitches. And he gives way to Andy McGaffigan. This pitching change is brought to you by Absorbing Junior, Canada's #1 selling liniment.
With this appearance, Andy McGaffigan has now tied Tim Burke for the team lead in games, 30 apiece. They're both up there among the league leaders in the appearances in the league. McGaffigan working out of the bullpen tonight. Face Howard Johnson to lead off, and see his record: 1-3, a couple of saves, and a 4.21 ERA. Number that's going to have to go down proportionally to innings pitched is the walks. 20 walks and 36 in the 3rd. That's just too many.
Ladies and gentlemen, leading off for the Mets,
McGaffigan will face Howard Johnson. Johnson has scored 19 runs in his last 15 games. 2 for 3 with 4 runs batted in on 2 homers tonight off Kevin Gross, and that's really the difference in the ball game. Gross was wild in the first couple, but he wasn't wild when he served up a couple right across the plate to Howard Johnson. 17th and 18th home runs of the season. Now McGaffigan's job is to hold the Mets. Hope the Expo bats can get it together against Dwight Gooden, or chase him and get to the bullpen. 0-1.
McGaffigan has a good changeup. That might be his primary weapon against a hitter like Howard Johnson.
Just got off work. Fly ball right center, back to the wall. Martinez makes the catch.
Howard Johnson picking on a little bit deeper part of the ballpark. This one more towards right center. Dave Martinez looks as though he has it all the way, and he puts it into the glove. It wouldn't have gone out of the park. He's hot.
He's given the ball a ride tonight, hasn't he?
Even his outs are exciting.
One and one to Darryl Strawberry, who was hit by a pitch in the first, popped up in the second to the second baseman, and hit a foul pop up in the fifth to the first baseman Galarraga. A ball and 2 strikes. McGaffigan gets out front of Strawberry. The Montreal Expos and the New York Mets are the only 2 teams in the National League East playing tonight. So one of these teams will pick up a half game on the Chicago Cubs. But there's quite a race going on in the West as well.
So that number 55 for Los Angeles, Oral Hershiser, will be pitching against San Diego. Darryl Strawberry looks all out of whack at the plate. You still have to be careful with him.
Are out as Strawberry swung at a changeup and missed. The first strikeout for Andy McGaffigan, 2 away in the 7th.
When you have a big swing, more things can go wrong with it. So when you're really in a slump, it might take a little bit longer to fine-tune it. Darryl Strawberry well out in front on the changeup, had some very poor swings during that at-bat, fouling pitches off. Doesn't look like the fearful Darryl Strawberry we've known in the past.
Swinging at the first pitch is Kevin McReynolds. Hits a fly ball almost to the track in right. Hubie Brooks reeled it in. A 1-2-3 inning for Andy McGaffigan on 9 pitches. He worked very efficiently in getting Johnson, Strawberry, and McReynolds. Hojo's out was the longest and loudest, taking Dave Martinez right to the wall. The Expos trail by 2 after 7. This is Labatt Expos baseball on TSN. Game 1 1 in a 3-game series between the Expos and the Mets at Shea Stadium, and they'll be at it again tomorrow. Then Wednesday afternoon, we'll have a 1:30 Eastern time start for you with Bryn Smith against David Cohn. 1:30 Eastern. The Mets and the Expos on Wednesday afternoon on TSN. The Mets are obviously taking no chances with Doc Gooden's right shoulder. He's pitched 7 innings of 5-hit ball, given up 3 runs, struck out 9 and walked 2, and he's gone. And the new right-handed closer, Rick Aguilera, former starter, is on. This pitching change is brought to you by Duracell, the one that lasts.
I guess there's just one word to describe Aguilera's adjustment to the bullpen. Now that he's a reliever, he's been awesome. 0.88 ERA. The league is hitting just 193 against Aguilera. 49 strikeouts in 41 innings pitched. So you can see why the Mets were willing to give up Roger McDowell and turn the ball over to Rick Aguilera. Twice in 2 separate relief appearances, he has struck out 6. May 28th at Los Angeles and May 24th at San Diego.
Started Tom Foley off with a fastball, 0-1. Since turning pro in 1983, Aguilera had been a starter till he hooked up with the Mets, was called up, and there was just no room for him in the starting rotation. 0-2 is the count.
Made a lot of noises about being traded, feeling that he wasn't getting a chance to pitch, but he's the other half of the 1-2 punch for the Mets, the lefty being Randy Myers. And he pitched yesterday down in Philly and gave up the home run to Von Hayes in the 9th inning. Made 6-5 winners out of the Phillies.
Well, if Gooden was starting to lose anything off his fastball, which didn't appear he was, Aguilera has picked it up as he comes in throwing hard. A ball and 2 strikes. Lost control of that one. 2-2. In 1987, Rick Aguilera was 11-3. He got into only 18 games, 17 as a starter, and went 11-3, and couldn't find a place in 88 in the starting rotation.
He's had a lot of arm problems, elbow, shoulder, but each time he keeps coming back and he seems to throw harder.
What do you think's tougher on a pitcher's arm then? Starting once every 5 days and throwing over 100 pitches, or going out once every couple of days and throwing a few and warming up just about every day?
It's like being on call. It doesn't seem to bother him the way he's been striking out hitters.
10 times the Expos have struck out tonight. 9 against Gooden, 1 against Aguilera.
Tom Foley might have chased this one up and away out of the strike zone.
High heat. Foley's gone. Galarraga is up. Mets 5 and the Expos 3. Expos batting in the 8th inning. One and 0 to Galarraga.
Barry Lyons' hands not going to get any rest with Aguilera coming in. He's throwing hard too.
Two and 0. Up in shallow center. Samuel is on, and he makes the catch. 2 away for Aguilera.
Left fielder Tim Raines.
Over 43,000 total attendance on a Monday night. The Mets and the Expos. And the Mets are leading 5-3. 4 runs in the first 2 innings, both on Howard Johnson 2-run home runs. And now here's Tim Raines with 2 out in the Expos 8. Another fly ball to shallow center. Samuel's racing in, and he got to the ball in plenty of time to make the catch. 3 up and 3 down for reliever Rick Aguilera, who picked up where Dwight Gooden left off, throwing fastballs at the Montreal Expos and putting them down. The Expos trail by 2 and are running out of outs. Andy McGaffigan on to face the Mets in the bottom of the 8th. This is Labatt Expos baseball on TSN. Expos starter Kevin Gross started wildly in this ball game. He walked Dave Magadan in the first inning. First of 3 he walked in the first. He also hit a man. But with Magadan aboard, Howard Johnson was the batter. He didn't walk. He sent the ball out of the park. His 17th home run of the season. And after the Expos had scored at the top of the first, the Mets got 2 on the home run and were up 2-1 and left the bases loaded in the first. Second inning, Dave Magadan walked. Howard Johnson at the plate against Kevin Gross. A repeat performance. Another 2-run home run, equaling a career high for home runs in a game and RBIs in a game at 4 for Johnson. And it was a 4-1 lead for the New York Mets. On the mound, Dwight Gooden pitched 7 innings of 5-hit ball, and he struck out 9 and is gone for the night. 9 Ks in honor of Doc. Rick Aguilera is on. The Expos trail 5-3, and the Mets are up in the bottom of the 8th. Montreal managed to get a couple back in the 5th and did it in scratch and claw fashion. A walk, a double, a stolen base, and a wild pitch to score a run. Fly ball left field off the bat of Jeffries. Tim Raines makes the catch.
The catcher, Barry Lyons.
Barry Lyons is the batter now to face Andy McGaffigan, who's retired 4 straight since coming into the game to replace Kevin Gross. Looking, sorry, Ken.
Go right ahead, Jim.
I was going to say, looking ahead to the 9th, Brooks, Wallach, and Santa Vineyard, you up for the Expos?
I was going to say, I talked to Gary Carter before the game, and he said that this particular time he had 3 cysts removed from his knee, the inside of his knee, and all kinds of other work done inside of his knee, and he says he's going to take his time before he comes back, and he feels it'll be after the All-Star break, definitely, when Gary Carter comes off the disabled list. You know, you're playing the toughest position there is as far as the knee is concerned when you're catching.
So by mid to late summer, Carter will be back. Keith Hernandez should be back. Samuel will be in the lineup. And the Mets, it appears, will still be in the thick of the race. Every team in the National League East has had a terrific opportunity with the Mets off to a poor start for them to make some hay, to build the lead, but not one team has been able to put together a real streak, like winning 20 and 25. Elster's hit by McGaffigan, so there's a man aboard.
You know, a streak like the Red Sox put together last year when they really got hot at home.
Joe Morgan took over.
Time to pull out the freeze. Ooh, ethyl chloride right to that spot, or at least an ice pack after the game.
That was Kevin Elster. Rick Aguilera will bat. Looking for his first hit of the season. Ground ball, Spike Owen charges it up with the ball over to first in time, and Aguilera's gone. Andy McGaffigan has another solid inning of relief. He's pitched 2 of them, just allowed 1 base runner on the hit batsman, Kevin Elster. So the reliever has done his job. Now it's up to the Expo bats against Rick Aguilera. Their last chance is coming up in the 9th. This is Labatt Expos baseball on TSN. Last chance for the Expos against the New York Mets. Rick Aguilera is on the mound in relief of Dwight Gooden. QB Brooks, Tim Wallach, and Nelson Santavania are due at the plate. 3 hits between them. Brooks has a pair, a double and a single off Gooden. Santavania has a single in this game as well. The Expos tonight have left 4, so they haven't been plagued by missed opportunities as they were in St. Louis when they left 15 in a loss in the final game of that series. And against Chicago, they loaded the bases, trailing on Saturday night in the 9th inning. Mike Fitzgerald struck out against Mitch Williams. Inside fastball. Hubie went around, strike 1. Then yesterday in the 8th inning, bases loaded, Spike Owen flied out against Mitch Williams.
Well, they've only gotten 1 walk from the Mets pitchers tonight. Doc Gooden giving a free pass to Tom Foley back in the 3rd inning, and that's been it as far as the free passes are concerned.
Howard Johnson. After the start of the season, Met fans hold their breath when he throws over to first. He made that one accurately, and Brooks is gone, 1 away.
At the beginning of the season, the fans behind first base all had gloves. But Hojo came on strong, working with Buddy Harrelson. That kind of an unusual way. He had Hojo take ground balls, then close his eyes before throwing the first. He was very accurate with his eyes closed. And he said, how much better do you think you can do with your eyes open? That helped him along the way. Plus his arm got stronger. He had soldier surgery on the off season.
Fouled back to the Lions, and he's taken a couple tonight. Not only is his hand going to be sore,
well, he gets up before the mandatory 8 count. This will be a foul tip.
rattled around in there like a pinball. Oh, and 2 outside to Tim Wallach. 1 and 2.
That'll take your breath away. Nelson Santavania, another catcher. He knows what it feels like to take those hits. Wallach can still run if he wants to. Lions drop the ball.
The catcher, Nelson Santavania.
Wallach's had a tough night, striking out 3 times, twice to Gooden, and no heat is lost with Aguilera on the mound. 2 away, and Dwight Gooden watches from the bench as Aguilera tries to finish this off, and Gooden is 1 out away from his 100th career victory, and this should be it. Dave Magadan, the first baseman, makes the catch, and the doctor has 100 wins. Rick Aguilera has his 6th save.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's winning pitcher is Doc Gooden.
The New York Mets have pulled into a tie for 2nd place with the Montreal Expos, a game and a half back of the Chicago Cubs in a tight National League East Division race. The final score from Shea Stadium in New York, the Mets 5 and the Expos 3. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. With a 5-3 win over the Montreal Expos at Shea Stadium tonight, Dwight Gooden has become the youngest 100-game winner. At 24 years of age, he's picked up his 100th victory tonight at the expense of the Montreal Expos. No small part of the 5-3 win at the plate was Howard Johnson. A pair of 2-run home runs off of Kevin Gross and another fly ball that went right to the wall. You had a great night. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
What sort of pitches did you hit out?
First time up, I hit a breaking ball. It was a curve that he just got out over the plate a little bit, and I just hit the ball well. Second time, he threw me a slider that he got up in the strike zone and out over the plate again, and I just allowed me to get extended.
Yeah, Howard, everybody knows you're a good fastball hitter, particularly a good high fastball hitter. But this point, you've been hot of late, swinging the bat very well. Just seems you're catching up with everything.
Well, you know, I've just made the adjustments. I've learned how to hit the breaking ball more, wait on the breaking ball, look for it in certain situations, depending on the pitcher that I'm facing, and it's just really helped me. You know, I've been able to, like I said, just make all the adjustments and when I get a good pitch to hit, not miss it.
How about your reaction to the trade that the Mets made on the weekend, bringing Juan Samuel in?
Well, Juan Samuel is a hell of a player. We all know that, and I think he's going to do a great job for us. He's learning how to play center field. But I think his big contribution is going to be with the bat. You know, we needed a right-handed bat, guy that can provide a little power, a little spark at the top of the order, and I think he's going to do that. He's going to fit in here real good.
Now, what are the Mets' feelings about this important stretch of ball games playing against the Eastern Division? You know, nobody's really taken charge yet, and of course you guys are the division champions. You got to feel like you can do it again.
Well, I think we got to just take it a game at a time. There's no question that this series with Montreal is real important to us because for the most part of the year, we've been struggling, and Montreal's played well. We've got to try and beat these guys, try and get over them, and then try and worry about the Cubs. So it's never easy. It hasn't been easy so far, and you know, we're just trying to take it a game at a time and hopefully get straightened out.
You've batted all through the order. Tonight you were in the 3rd spot. Where do you feel most comfortable? You sure look comfortable in number 3 spot tonight.
Well, early in the year I batted 2nd a lot, and I felt good there. But when Keith went down with the injury, I got a chance to hit 3rd in the order, and I had to make a little adjustment there, but I think I like that the best. I've hit the ball well in the 3 spot. I think it allows me to hit with more guys on base and be an RBI guy, which is really what I want to be.
4 of them tonight, tying a career high and a pair of home runs. The match is a career high. Great game, Howard. Thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you very much.
Howard Johnson has been our guest. He had a pair of 2-run home runs in the 1st and 2nd innings. 4 RBIs, 4 of the 5 for the New York Mets in a 5-3 win over the Montreal Expos. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. Now it's time for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by Converse. With the Expos leading 1-0 in the 1st inning, Howard Johnson hit a 2-run home run. And if that didn't turn the game in the Mets' favor, the 2nd home run in the 2nd inning did. A 2-run home run is 2nd of the night with Dave Magadan on base, and the Mets had a 4-1 lead. They went on to win the game in the 1st game of this 3-game series, 5-3. Hojo provided the turning point. A cash donation will be made to Amateur Sport on behalf of TSN and Converse. Converse, king of the hill. The final score from Shea Stadium in New York, the Mets 5 and the Expos 3. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. You've been watching the Montreal Expos and the New York Mets from Shea Stadium in New York City. TSN Expos Baseball has been brought to you by Labatt's Blue, the clean, true taste of Canada, and by Esso, going that extra mile. Expos Baseball is a presentation of the Sports Network. It's protected by copyright. Any use of this broadcast without permission is prohibited. The final score in this, the 1st game of a 3-game series at Shea, the Mets 5 and the Expos 3. The winning pitcher, Dwight Gooden, with his 100th career victory. The losing pitcher, Kevin Gross, now 6-6. The Labatt player of the game for the Montreal Expos is Dave Martinez, who made some fine defensive plays. He also had a double, stolen base, and scored the Expos' 3rd run. He'll receive a complete range of shaving products from Remington. And for the New York Mets, Howard Johnson with a career-high 4 runs batted in on 2 2-run home runs. Howard receives Cannon's new Prima shot. All members of the Expos pitching staff receive an assortment of gifts presented by Duracell, the one that lasts. And from the makers of Absorbine Jr., Canada's #1 selling liniment. Our next Expo telecast on TSN will be Wednesday afternoon at 1:30 Eastern when the Mets host the Expos again. The next Blue Jay telecast on TSN will be Tuesday night at 10:30 Eastern. The California Angels will play host to Toronto. Stay tuned now for Extra Innings, our phone-in show with Expo pitcher Mark Langston. You can call collect at 416-445-1811. We'll be back with Mark and Extra Innings in just a moment.